So, Luka Doncic just moved to the Los Angeles Lakers. And this is what I and many others believe to be the most shocking move in sports history, which is why it's breaking the internet at the moment. Now, many non-basketball fans may see this move and might not understand the way this move holds with sport, which is why today I'm going to explain this move in football terms. But before we dive into that, let me preface some things. Number one, keep in mind that this trade happened suddenly. Nobody knew this trade would or could even happen until it was announced it did, which is why it's such a shock to NBA fans. In football, transfers are rumoured for weeks, months, even years before they happen. But in the NBA, a player can be traded with no notice. Even the players won't know they are being traded until it happens, which will happen in this case, and why this is the craziest trade in history. So with every transfer I propose, it's as if there was no build up to it. Number two, the full trade was Luka Doncic, Maxi Kleber, and Markieff Morris to Los Angeles Lakers for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first round pick, with the Utah Jazz getting 2 second-round picks and Jalen Hood. Now this trade obviously has a lot of pieces, however I'm only going to focus on Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and of course Luka Doncic in this trade, because the other players in this trade were just friends for the sake of it. We are all end of the bench players that get barely any play time and aren't important in the trade at all. The draft picks looks like they won't hold much weight in the future. But before I show you each trade, let's break down each player and team involved in the trade. Now first off, we got Luka Doncic. Now Luka Doncic is a generational player. He has already established himself as one of the greatest players of all time and will only continue to prove so. Luka Doncic is the most valuable player on his team and one of the most valuable in the league as a whole. He was second in the MVP voting in the 2024 season. Luka Doncic is one of the greatest offensive players of all time. He's the best scorer in the league, great facilitator, great playmaker, great shooter, good rebounder. Only drawbacks are defense and his athleticism, which played an important role as to why they traded him, because they thought he was very overweight. Luka Doncic is very young, only being 26 years old, so he has a ton of time for great output and potential to become even better. Luka Doncic is very available, rarely ever missing games other than this season where he has struggled with a long-term injury which has made him miss a lot of games. Now, in the NBA, how it works is that to be eligible for awards, individual awards, you have to play a minimum of 65 games out of 82 games, and Luka Doncic has met that target in the last 4 seasons, so he is a very available player. Luka has an incredibly expensive contract, being worth $229 million and was eligible to make $345 million. Put that into perspective, $345 million divided by 5 is $70 million, and no player that played in Europe made that amount of money. And only few players in Saudi Arabia made that amount of money, so that could have played a huge role in the trade. Luka is the face of the franchise. It was thought that he was going to be there for the entirety of his career, and he's arguably the second best Mavericks player of all time. Now we're moving on to Anthony Davis. Now Anthony Davis is an all-star level player. He's top 10 for points, rebounds, and top 3 for blocks. Anthony Davis is one of the greatest centers and defenders of the generation, so he's a very established defender. Anthony Davis has had success before. He won a ring in 2020 with the LA Lakers. So he has the playoff experience and championship mindset that the Mavericks need. Anthony Davis is 31 turning 32, so he most likely won't improve much and not a lot of years of value. He has a very physical style player and is also very injury prone, so he'll probably regress quite fast. Anthony Davis has an extensive history of injury. When I say extensive, think of guys like Ousmane Dembele and Marco Reus. He struggles to play more than 50 games a season, but it seems like for the past 2 seasons, he may have solved the problem. He's played in almost every single game in both seasons. Now moving on to Max Christie. Now Max Christie is a solid guard, potential to be a top star in the future. Max Christie is a versatile player. He's a good defender, good rebounder, he has great athleticism, he's a decent scorer, but showing swift improvement as the season has gone on. Max Christie is very young, he's only 21 in his second season in the league. There's a ton of years of value and a lot of potential to become a star. Now moving on to the Mavericks, which is Luka Doncic's team. And just to let you know, I'm going to speak about these teams in the state that they were before the trade, not after. The Mavericks are a top team competing for the championship. However, injuries have stunted their chances massively, with injuries to the likes of Luka Doncic, obviously before he got traded, and Derek Lively second, who was their starting center. Due to these injuries, the Mavericks are struggling to get to the playoffs, let alone get a good seed for the playoffs. The Mavericks haven't won a title in 14 years, so the dry streak could be a reason as to why they would make such a rash decision. Mavericks recently had a change of ownership in December 2023, when Mark Cuban sold the majority of the team to Miriam Adelson and Patrick Dumont, and their inexperience in managing sports teams could have played a huge role in making such a rash decision happen. Now we're moving on to the LA Lakers. Now the Lakers had one of the best starting fives in the league on paper before the trade, with the GOAT of the sport LeBron, defensive juggernaut Anthony Davis, Austin Reeves, which is one of the best white players in the league, and the Nigganese man himself, Rui Hachimura. The Lakers are the second most decorated NBA team, with 17 championships in total, winning their last title in 2020. But since then, they have struggled to win a title, never getting a good seed and getting beaten in the first round twice, and even missing the playoffs once. The Lakers are fourth in the heavily competitive Western Conference, so they have good odds of winning the chip this year. Now, football and the NBA could be more different from each other, so it's difficult to quantify how the truth will look in football terms. So how they conduct moves are different, and football uses fees and clauses rather than using players like the NBA does. The NBA league structure and winning formula is completely different from football's, but I'll try my best nevertheless. Imagine if it was mid-season during the transfer window, close to deadline day. Let's say it is the 29th of January, 10 PM. A seemingly random evening, but the transfer deadline window is right around the corner. Maybe you're watching TV, eating food, getting ready to sleep soon, or maybe your sleep schedule's finished and you're playing your PS5 or something. Then you get a notification from Twitter on your phone. Fabrizio Romano just made a post. You open the app to look at it and you see, here we go, Palmer to Man City for John Stones and Rico Lewis. And let's break this trade down. Palmer and Luka are both one of the most valuable players on their teams and in the league debate as a whole. Luka was second in the league MVP ladder last season, while Palmer was in the shortlist for PFA Player in the Year last season. The Premier League doesn't have an equivalent trophy to the MVP trophy, but if there was one, Palmer would probably be the winner. Remember, being an MVP doesn't necessarily mean being the best player in the league. It means how valuable you are to your team's success, to your team's winnings. And obviously Palmer was very valuable to his team's winnings because there wasn't a lot of good players in that squad. So he'll probably be the MVP winner if it was a trophy in the Prem. Palmer and Luka are both relatively young, with the potential to become better and have many years of great service. Cole Palmer's only 21. Palmer and Luka are both one of the best defensive players in their respective sports. Palmer is a great passer, great finisher, great shooter, great dribbler. The only problems are his defense. Palmer and Luka are both very available, rarely ever missing games. Palmer has only missed 2 Premier League games in the last 2 seasons. Now, Palmer, he doesn't make that much compared to Luka's contract, not being anywhere near one of the highest earners in the league. However, because he's very young, I think in a few more years and more contract negotiations, he can easily be one of the highest earners in the league. And Palmer is a franchise player who's expected to be at Chelsea his whole career. He just signed a new 7-year contract. Although I will admit that considering that he played for Man City before, he isn't completely far-fetched for him to make a return. Now moving on to John Stones, who is a mirror of Anthony Davis. Now John Stones is a team of the season level player, being featured in 2 Premier League team seasons and a UCL team season, while Anthony Davis has 4 first-team All-NBA selections. Keep in mind that injuries are part of the reason why we both might not have more selections. Stones is one of the best centre-backs and defenders of the generation, so he's a very established player. Stones has won the Premier League 6 times, so he has the winning experience and championship mindset that Chelsea is in need of. Stones struggles with injury heavily. He misses many games each season, and he struggles to play more than 20 Premier League games each season. Stones is aging at 30 turning 31, so he does have many years of solid play left and will likely only regress from now on. Now moving on to Rico Lewis, who's my mirror of Max Christie. Now Lewis is a solid right back with the potential to be a top right back in the future. Lewis has similar versatility to Max Christie, as he has played right back, defensive midfielder and on the wing, and he has shown improvement as the season has gone on. Lewis is young, he's only 20 in his 3rd season as a pro, so he has a lot of years of value and the potential to become even better. Now we're going to move on to Chelsea, who's my mirror of the Mavericks. Now Chelsea is a top team competing for a title. However, injuries are stunting their chances massively, with injuries to important players such as Nicholas Jackson, Roman Lavia, Malagusto, Wesley Fofana and even more. Similar to the Mavericks, Chelsea have won the Premier League in 8 years, so you might be desperate for a title to make a rash decision like this. Chelsea are 4th in the Premier League, however, due to their injury situation and their bad form, I highly doubt they'll hold that position for much longer. Chelsea recently had a change of ownership, which could lead to a rash transfer like this one. Chelsea were forced to sell the club to Todd Bowley back in 2022, and Bowley has shown his inexperience and lack of knowledge of running a football club. He flooded the club with a bunch of young players when he first took ownership of Chelsea. So him making a rash decision like selling Palmer is completely off the table, as insane as it is. Just like with the new Mavs ownership, the Luka trade probably wouldn't even be considered, let alone happen under Mark Cuban. Now moving on to Man City. Now Man City are one of the best teams on paper in the league, with the likes of the top goal scorer in the world, Erling Haaland, current player of the year, Phil Foden, the greatest midfielder in Prem history, Kevin De Bruyne on the team. Man City are the second most decorated Prem team with 8 titles, winning their last title just last year, while struggling hard this year for form, being 5th in the Prem, completely out of the title race, now the League Cup in just around 16. Man City are 5th in a heavily competitive 4th place race, and they have the best form out of all the teams in the 4th place race. Now normally, in the Prem, the 4th place race consists of maybe 3 teams, maybe 4, but this season there's a good 7 to 8 teams that have a solid chance of getting 4th place this season.